First of all, I'd like to congratulate, the producer-director Rakesh Roshan ji, in terms of endearment, we call him Guddu ji. Him, Hrithik, Mr. Rakesh Roshan, who's the music director, who's one of the greatest music directors of the film industry, the entire cast, Amisha, and the entire cast and crew of Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai, on this momentous occasion where it's actually done 25 years. वो एक टाइम होता था when फिल्मों में सिल्वर जुबली बोलते थे तो 25 हफ्ते का हिसाब होता था. Picture ran for 25 weeks. It was silver jubilee, but this is done 25 years. तो सबको बहुत बहुत मुबारकबाद, सबको बधाई हो मेरी तरफ से. The first memory I have of Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai was when Guruji called me for the casting. I had already done 2 movies with him, Kishan Kanhaiya and King Uncle. So he called me to his office. He said we knew by then that he's doing Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai and he's launching his son Hrithik in it. So he called me to his office here in Khar, Filmcraft office. And we met in the room that is outside his main office. And he took me inside after that. And on the walls, there were Hrithik's photos all over the walls inside. And there were such fantastic photos. The first time I saw Hrithik, that I saw photos of Hrithik, they were absolutely fantastic. And of course I told him, I said, these photos are absolutely fantastic. And Hrithik was looking like, as he does, like a Greek god, with his coloring and his hair color, and there were excellent photographs. He really looked like you'd expect the conventional leading man, a hero, to look like, which he still does. And I remember telling him, I told Guruji, I said, these are fantastic photos and he really looks wonderful. But then I thought to myself that, there is such a big step from just looking good and performing, and have to see whether the person has the talent to perform and all those other aspects that come. It always helps that you're good looking and you have you're fantastically photogenic, which Hrithik is, as the world knows today. And then the movie started and we started working, and I was absolutely amazed at Hrithik's focus, his commitment, his his non-filmy, or you could say, tantrums. Or he had no airs about him. He had no tantrum. Okay, he was new, but a lot of, people may expect that because he's the son of the famous Rakesh Roshan and Rajesh Roshan's nephew, that he would, and he has got a very distinguished film family, the Roshans. They have been involved in, and they've been part of the film industry in a very prominent way. But he had none of that. He was very focused. He was obviously very well prepared, which now the world knows how good he is, but at that time he was very well prepared, very committed to his job, and it showed on the screen. Because it was one of the greatest debuts. I think the last one I heard, which I was also in, was Qayamat Se Qayamat Tak. After that, the biggest debut of a leading man was Hrithik Roshan. Of course, Salman was also had done Maine Pyar Kiya. But these are rare debuts where in the first film you have a superstar overnight. You have a superstar. And for that, it was mainly the kind of upbringing and the kind of atmosphere that there was in Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai. The way it was professionally done, and like you said, like you asked, he had no tantrums. He was very committed, and he still is to this day. So it was a very memorable film to be part of. Very professionally done. And a question I'm often asked, which probably you'll ask me, was that did Rakesh Roshan, being his son, did he spoil him and pamper him and anything extra? Nothing that I noticed. And I was there in the film quite a lot. Nothing that I noticed. It was very professionally done. I think he was treated like a professional and he delivered like a professional. And I think Rakesh Roshan, you have to give him credit that he's a very sort of, he's a very professional and a very good filmmaker. So I'm sure he realized that if he has airs and graces and spoils and pampers his son, it'll in fact go against the grain, and it'll go against his work at the end of the day. I mean, I couldn't, and I think no one, not even Hrithik Roshan himself or Rakesh Roshan himself, would have expected this kind of response after the film got. But the ingredients that were put together, I was confident that this picture and Hrithik are going to be successful. Because you can tell when you're working with someone who's new. He was very good at whatever he was doing. Like I said, he was focused, he was prepared. The support systems that were put in place during Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai were of a very professional and good nature. There was no tantrums and fuss, but he was treated like a professional, and he delivered because he was prepared. Now, like I said, we knew that it's looking good. That Hrithik is talented, and not only is he talented, he's very hardworking and he's good. So you can't really predict that level of success. But yeah, it was a very positive vibe, and I was pretty certain that this film is going to do well. This whole project is going to do well. But I don't think, like I said, I don't think even Guduji or anyone could have predicted in advance that he'll become such a huge superstar overnight. I think it's a wonderful thing. I mean, I think it's wonderful to celebrate this kind of success, which is rare. I mean, there are very few films in the history of Indian filmmaking and in the world that can enjoy 25 years of such continued success. It is not that, every time you mention this film, and me personally, I've had, over 25 years, I've had such positive responses to me and the film. I was just telling you, I'll tell you about an incident which is about 2 years ago. I was in a lift just traveling up to my house, or I was in a hotel or something. I was in a lift going up, and there was a girl in the lift with me. She was obviously, could not have been more than 12 to 13 years old. You could tell she was a young girl. And she hesitated for a while. Finally, she picked up courage and told me, "Uncle, I really like your acting." So I looked at her and I said, "Really?" So I had to ask her because she was so young. So I said, "So where have you seen me that you like my acting?" And she said, first film that she said was, "Uncle, I liked you. You were good in Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai." Then she mentioned some other films of mine like Ishq and Bazigar and things like that. But first film on the thing was Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai. So that is the kind of impact that Hrithik and this film and Amisha, this film has made on the public. That 25 years later, all the artists and everyone is feeling the glow and the response, and we're all enjoying and bathing in the success of this great film. So yeah, I mean, it's a fantastic honor. I feel that I'm very fortunate and privileged to be part of a film like this, which is iconic, really. So once again, I mean, on the 25th year of Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai, I wish everybody who's concerned with it, and in particular, Guduji and Hrithik and Amisha and Rakesh Roshan ji, and the cast and crew, I wish them I give them a lot of congratulations and wish them continued success. Hopefully there'll be a 50 years where probably most of us won't be around, but Hrithik will be there with his walking stick. My movie done 50 years. Absolutely. I mean, it was like lightning had struck. You know what I mean? It was absolutely unbelievable. I think not just the industry, but everybody, when a star like this comes on the scene, first of all, you're in a state of shock. That bam, what happened? Because you don't expect this kind of success. And then as the momentum grew and then everyone began to realize that we have a superstar and it's always a wonderful feeling when you have a young actor who comes onto the scene with such a blast. And it's such a great feeling to see the birth of a superstar and someone who deserves it. with all his work and his dancing, and Hrithik was fantastic. To do that in your first movie is phenomenal. It's just God sent. Nobody can predict that this is going to happen. So it was, I felt very proud. I had a feeling of euphoria that, wow, I've been witness to, second time. It happened with Amir, and I was in that film, and now it happened with Hrithik. So I was like feeling in a way that, wow, this is good. And it's an amazing feeling to be part of something which is so phenomenally successful. Well, to begin with, these journeys are all separate. Each actor has their own journey, their own kundali, their own set of strengths and weaknesses. Shah Rukh's graph was different. As you said, it was Dilwale that really catapulted him into super duper stardom. But Bazigar before that was a big hit. I was with him in Bazigar. That was a big hit. Deewana was a big hit. So Bazigar was phenomenal, but Deewana was a big hit. So Shah Rukh had, see, that's what I mean about Hrithik. Shah Rukh had it was like stepping stones. Deewana was a success, and Bazigar was good, then Dar was very successful, and then came Dilwale Dulhaniya that absolutely endorsed his superstardom. It's put the stamp there. But Hrithik got to that stage in his first film. That's the difference. In his very first film, Hrithik went from unknown to 15 on 10. In fact, 20 on 10. I mean, he just went boom, straight through the roof. So that is a phenomenal feeling. Yeah. So if you have Shah Rukh Khan, who's got his own stardom, his way of doing films, his way of performing, his choice of films, which is very different to what Hrithik does, which is very different to what Amir does, different to what Salman does, different to perhaps what Ajay Devgan does. So each of them have their own place. What we have to understand is that they all make part of an eco structure, which is the film industry, and they all coexist. It's not that as much as they are in, I suppose, in competition with each other in terms of which film is going to do well or which one hits the box office, but really they're individualistic in their own way. So I don't like to go into comparisons, because the only comparison I suppose that the audience sees is कि कौन सी किसकी picture hit हुई और किसकी picture चली नहीं. Otherwise they're completely different, and they all have their own audience. So from that point of view, I think they're very different. Actually, I have a lot of respect for Hrithik Roshan, that he has managed. He's one of the few people, and also Amir to a large extent, that after such a huge opening film, it's very difficult to follow up. It must have been so tough for Hrithik Roshan to decide now what to do after Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai. Somebody's gut feel would be, yaar, ho gaya, abhi retire karo. Matlab, you can't go bigger than that. But Hrithik has proven every time by his film choices and in his journey from Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai that he's a force to reckon with in terms of being a leading man and a hero in the Hindi movies and in the world movies now. So, I mean, his choices have been his own. I cannot comment on all the films that he's selected and chosen to do. Some have succeeded more and some may not have succeeded as much. But he's right there on top. I mean, Hrithik Roshan is a superstar, and he remains a superstar even after Kaho Naa Pyaar Hai. Look, in this business, it is only those people who remain as superstars and who remain in this business who can overcome the failures. If you are capable enough and you are understanding enough, which I believe Hrithik is, because he's still around in a very big way, and it's also your upbringing and the fact that you understand how to deal with failure. The most important thing is how to deal with failure and how to get up from there. And Hrithik has done that wonderfully. I mean, I don't know which of his films has really not done well. There have been one or two which come to mind, which I obviously don't want to mention, you know, on your wonderful news channel. But for me, more important is that he's there today. He's amongst the top superstars of the country, of the world, in fact, now, because Hindi movies have been seeing everywhere. And the fact that he's remained there after 25 years means he has managed to, if he has had super failures, he's managed to overcome that. And that I respect more than if you told me that here's an actor who's never seen failure. वो तो होता नहीं है. In this business, everybody, there is not a single actor or filmmaker or anyone, even the great Raj Kapoor saw a disaster, a commercial disaster in Mera Naam Joker. It is how people come back after that, which is the difference between a true professional superstar, a professional and a superstar, than people who fall apart. So actually, I've been associated with Guduji Rakesh Roshan when he was an actor. I did couple of films with him when he was an actor. So I've known him since then. We did a film which Ravi Saab, the music director, the very famous, legendary music director Ravi ji, his son made a film, Ajay. And that is the first time I worked with Mr. Rakesh Roshan as an actor. And it was fantastic. It was lovely to work with him. He's a very gentle human being and a very professional, thorough professional. And it was a pleasure to work with him because he's my senior. And then I next worked with him when he was director he called me for Kishan Kanhaiya with Anil Kapoor and with Shilpa and everybody and Amrish ji, and it was like I said, when working with Guduji is such a joy, because one thing is that he is a very calm, and though he's very professional in the manner that he never lets the set take on any tension, or he never gives the impression that things are out of control, which they aren't. And he really runs a very tight ship. The other good thing about him is that he's very clear in his explanations. He's very clear about what his vision of the film is. So and he's very articulate. Being an actor himself, he manages and does so very, very well to communicate to his actors as to what he wants. He's also a very light-hearted person, actually, and it's very fun to work with. He's not a stressed out, sort of loud, shouting kind of director. He's very relaxed. He's very efficient, but very relaxed, which is a very good combination. So there's a lot of professionalism, but the atmosphere is relaxed. Also, from a production point of view, like I said, he is very clear about his dates, his scheduling, which is a very important aspect in all filmmaking. And in Indian filmmaking, it is even more important because we don't have, in those days, there were no call sheets and this and that. And a lot of dates used to go haywire sometimes. The structure of the film industry was such that there should be a lot of issues with dates and scheduling, and there should be a lot of problems in that area. With Rakesh Roshan, Guduji, there was never any problem. He was very efficient in scheduling, and that's why his films are made so well, because his planning was very good and he executed his plan very well. So there was that side of him also which was very professional, because he had the experience of what can go wrong, because he had the experience to understand in filmmaking the kind of problems that you have in India as a filmmaker. And he knew where those areas were and he knew how to overcome them. And he succeeded because he had a method of doing that. So all in all, working with Rakesh Roshan has always been a pleasure and a learning experience as to how films should be made in a commercial setup, where people say, "Arey yaar, ye commercial film hai, ye nahi hai, wo nahi hai." No, he was very organized and still is. Then I did King Uncle with him. All these movies are multi-actor movies. Kishan Kanhaiya had a huge cast. If you look at it, there was Anil, Anil in a double role. There was Shilpa, there was Amrish ji, there was myself. There were a lot of people in Kishan Kanhaiya. So his organization skills are very good.